All right, we're going to go ahead and talk about how to divide fractions. Chances are you probably just finished with the lesson on how to multiply fractions. Well, the good news is if you can multiply fractions, you can divide fractions. Because really all you're going to do is do a step that essentially turns the equation into a multiplication problem. Okay, before we get to talking about division, it's very important that we understand what a reciprocal is, okay? So say we have a fraction, 3/4, okay? The reciprocal of 3/4 is basically the opposite of it, okay? Or the inverse is what we would call it, okay? So 3/4, okay? The opposite of 3/4 is you just flip it over, 4/3, okay? And what that essentially means is if I were to multiply it, I'd get 12/12, which would give me 1/2. Okay, anytime with a reciprocal, that's going to be the case. 1/3, the reciprocal of 1/3 is 3/1. If I were to multiply it, I'd have 3/3, which is the same thing as 1. 5/6, the reciprocal, flip it over, 6/5. If I were to multiply it, 30/30, I'd get 1. Okay? So it's very important that you understand what a reciprocal is because that is something you will need to know in order to be able to divide fractions. Okay, so let's see a division problem. Okay, so let's see. Let's do 8/9 divided by 1/3. Okay. Okay, so 8/9 divided by 1/3. Okay, all you need to do in order to be able to solve this is take the second number right here, the divisor, what it's being divided by, and turn it into its reciprocal. Okay, so we're going to do 8/9, and then the reciprocal of 1/3 is 3/1. Okay, and once we do that, now we turn the problem into a multiplication problem. Okay, and then we just solve 24/9. Okay, can we leave our answer like that? No, that's an improper fraction. Have to turn into a mixed number. 9 goes into 24 2 times, with the remainder 6/9. All right, I know you're probably getting to the point where you can't see that. Okay, 2 6/9. Can we leave my answer like that? No, because it's not in simplest form. 6/9 in simplest form is 2/3. Okay, so you might be asking yourself, well, my answer is bigger than either of these numbers. How is that possible? I'm dividing. It should be smaller. And if we are working with whole numbers, that is exactly right. But these are fractions. We're dividing fractions into even smaller pieces. So if I were to divide, if you think about with like a whole number, so say I have three strings, okay? And if I were to cut those strings into 1/3, if I were to divide them into 1/3, how many would I have? Well, I would have 9, which is bigger than the number that I started with because I'm cutting them into smaller pieces rather than putting bigger pieces into that sort of thing. All right, so let's work out a couple more. Okay, so really the main trick with dividing fractions is just using switching that second number, doing the reciprocal of the second number, and then multiplying. Okay, let's do 11/2 divided by 3/4. Okay, so my first step is I need to rewrite the equation now with the reciprocal of this. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite it, except for now it's going to be multiplication, and then I need to make sure I use the reciprocal of the second number. Okay, so once I do that, now I can just go ahead and multiply. Okay, And then got an improper fraction, need to convert it to a mixed number. 6 goes into 44, well 6 times 7 is 42. So that gives me a remainder 2 over 6. Okay, 2 6, not in simplest form. So 7 and 1/3. Okay. So let's see. Now a couple things that I see that might come up. Well, let's do like this. 9 divided by 4/3. Okay? Now, I can tell you when we divide this, the answer is going to be smaller than 9 because I'm dividing 9 by a number that is larger than 1. 4/3 is an improper fraction. That's the same thing as like 1 and 1/3, right? Okay, so now we need to go ahead and rewrite this. Okay, now I've got 9. Now I know if I'm going to be multiplying fractions, I probably want to write the 9 as a fraction. How can I write a whole number and turn it into a fraction? Yeah, I just put it over 1. Okay, that still equals 9, doesn't it? Okay, so 9 times, all right, now I have to do the reciprocal. So that's 3/4. Okay, so that's going to be 27 over 4. All right, so improper fraction, need to convert it into a mixed number, 27 over 4. Well, 4 goes into 24 6 times with the remainder 3. So my answer is 6 3/4. Basically, think about that as I have nine pieces of strings. If I were to cut them or I have 9 feet of string, and if I were to cut each one into like a foot and a third, how many strings would I be able to get? Well, like that. All right. So also, and I should have talked about this when I did reciprocal, they may ask you, okay, what's the reciprocal of 7? So in order to be able to do that, you need to think about, well, in order to do a reciprocal, I have to turn it into a fraction, right? So turning a whole number into a fraction, remember, what do we do for that? No, we just put it over 1, still equals 7, right? Okay, so then the reciprocal of 7 would be 1/7. Okay. All right, well, good luck on this assignment.